Hello and welcome to On the Kerbs. I'm your host, Timo Albers Daily. In this episode, I'm joined by American racing driver Charlotte Traynor. Karting from 13 years old, Charlotte knew from her very first experience that she wanted to become a racing driver professionally. Since then, she's gone on to become part of a great underdog motorsport story, won a Mazda MX-5 Shootout, raced at Daytona under the lights, and garnered the attention of the Shift Up Now Foundation as she prepares to race for a full season in 2026 for the first time. Charlotte and I talked about all of this and much more when we caught up recently. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi Charlotte, thank you very much for being here today. First of all, how are you?
I am good. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So, first question I like to ask everyone that I talk to on here is the cliche question, but it's got to be asked. What first got you interested in motorsport?
Yeah, so the thing that got me interested in motorsports was honestly just watching it on TV. Like I would watch it when I was younger. And I did motorbikes too. So I was kind of like on two wheels before I was on four. We actually had like a track in our backyard kind of that was like joined with our neighbors. So, I kind of got introduced to it through like dirt biking. And then yeah, I just watch like NASCAR and F1 on TV. And I don't know, I just became like obsessed with it. Like whenever they would show the in-car driver cameras like on TV, like it was like a switch that just clicked on in my brain. And I'm like, that looks like so much fun. How do I do this? So, I mean, sure enough, I did like research and I looked up, how do I even get into this? And, all the signs kind of pointed to go-karting. And I was 13 at the time, so I started a little bit later than most because lots of people in motorsports you hear they start when they're like 6 years old, and it's just insane, or they come from a family of racing. In my case, I did not come from a racing family at all. So, I was kind of like going into it blind, not really knowing what to expect. So I told my dad about it, and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. I want to try. So sure enough, we went indoor go-karting, like at just a K1 speed, indoor rental karting. And I absolutely loved it. And it took off from there. My dad and I, we got our first like actual go-kart, and then we just kind of started working our way up through kind of the karting ranks in North America through like all the series here and go-karts like SCUSA, USPKS, and I mean everything kind of started from there.
Preempted one of my questions later of like, what was the moment that you decided, but it was that sort of karting for the first time, and you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And as we can see from the fact that we're talking, you've decided to pursue motorsport as a career. It's kind of escalated since then, and you're definitely going through it. But I want to go back to what you're saying about the fact that you were on two wheels briefly with your neighbor with the bike track. That seems very Arizona to me. So I was going to ask, what was it like growing up in Arizona with motorsport? They've obviously got a good bit of history there with it, but that seemed on brand from what I know anyway.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Colorado and moved to Arizona about 4 years ago. So I've been in Arizona for 4 years, and yeah, so the dirt bikes and everything that actually kind of started in Colorado, which
Luckily, I think I
is
get away with that. That still fits as Colorado vibes as
yeah,
well, so
no,
I'm not too far
definitely.
out
I
of it.
mean, yeah, there was actually a decent amount of like tracks in Colorado too, and like through the mountains and stuff. Like sometimes me and my family, we'd go to these, motorbike trails just like in the mountains, or like I said, the one that we built in our yard because we had acres, like we had a lot of land back in Colorado. So we just combined that with our neighbor's yard and we had a whole track. So I mean, that state, it's really good, in terms of the outdoor things you can do. Here in Arizona now it gets kind of hot, in the summer, but
Yeah, I saw that. Was it last weekend for the drag racing? They had one of the hottest days on record for this time of year, if not the hottest. So rather you than me, I think on that one. You're welcome to it. I'm not built for that. I don't think.
yeah.
Um, that first karting experience that you had, tell me about that. What was it about it? Do you remember that stuck out to you and made you go, Dad,
It was
we need to do more of
just
this?
so, yeah, it was just so different. Like I'd never done anything like that before. I mean, I grew up doing sports. I did gymnastics, I did soccer, I did, just so many different things. And
You
that
worked
was
your way
the
through until
one.
you were finding the one that wanted to
Yeah,
work for you.
exactly. I'm like, which one do I like now? But that was the thing that just really stuck out to me. It was so freeing. Like, it's just you out there, even though racing, it is somewhat of a team sport where you have your crew guys, and if you're on the endurance side, it's even more of a team sport. But it's kind of one of those only things where it's just you and the car, and it was so different and it was so much fun. Like it was just so freeing. And I mean, I just loved it. Like the adrenaline and I was decent at it too. Like for rental go-karting, like I'd come in and kind of like just beat some of the people there and I'm like, is this a thing I could be good at? So I really liked that, aspect of it too. And I mean, I literally just became addicted to it.
You'd say, yeah, there is that element of team sport to it, as you say, but when you were out on the track, you've left the pits, you've not had to change your tires if we're looking up multiple higher up and all the rest of it. It is just you out there and you kind of get into that zone, I'm sure. And I'm always trying to find that zone again then when it is just you and whatever you're driving and going as quick as you can and being in the moment. So yeah, freeing in a different sense there. And not too surprising that that would be something to get addicted to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like a moment of peace that you can finally have, with all everything, going on in the outside world and, whatever else you deal with. Like when you get in the car, it's like that's like your safe space and that is your spot and your area where like nothing can get to you and nothing can really, disturb you.
Somewhat ironically as well, considering motorsport being, inherently known as a dangerous sport, there's danger to it, but you have that. There's always that risk, but like you say, you have that control, that speed of feeling like you're in control, and for the most part, you will be. And it's just fun how that can be both true. Both things can be true at the same time. There. Um, Talk to me then about your career from those first days karting until tail end of last year, let's say.
Yeah, so from karting, I did that for about 4.5 years. Most of it was in Colorado until we moved to Arizona, like about, I said, what, 3.5 years ago, I
Mm.
think. So we moved to Arizona and I was still karting, but we were kind of looking to get like into cars. Because obviously, I mean, you can't stay in go-karting forever. And if you want to make a career off racing cars, you have to, move on. So one night we were at the go-kart track. And we ran into a family that I race with now in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, but we ran into them that night and I was just training with the kid. His name's Parker, the family, they're the DeLongs. And so our dads started talking and, we just started training together kind of like after that night. And they were getting into cars. So Parker, he was running just all sorts of different series and they were just getting into the Mazda MX-5 Cup. So, they knew what we wanted to do and our plans. So we kind of like were able to shadow them almost, and they kind of like pulled us along with them. So we would go, if they would be racing, like we would go to those races and we would check them out and, just go watch from the spectator side. And then they would like sell us their old cars, just to practice in so I could get some, car practice. And I mean, everything started from there. So then, yeah, we just were at the track instead of now in go-karts training together, me and Parker, we'd be, in cars training together. So that's kind of how I got into the car scene. And then my dad and I, we got a spec Miata last year, or no, in 2024, kind of at the end of 2024. And I raced that just to get some side by side, racing experience. And then in 2025, I was able to make the jump into the MX-5 Cup, obviously through the DeLongs and their team, because they run their own team. I mean, when you show up to these big races, especially in a bigger series like the Mazda MX-5 Cup, they're teams, obviously, and bigger teams, very successful teams. So they just jumped in right as a privateer, father-son family team, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing this. Do you guys want in?" And we're like, "Yes," because I mean, we would not be able to afford it, any other way. We can't afford to pay what the other teams are asking, and I mean, the DeLongs are, incredibly good family friends, and the fact that I have this once in a lifetime opportunity, I would say, to do this. I had to take it. So, yeah, I did. And sure enough, I did three races last year in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, because that's the amount you can do to still be eligible for Rookie of the Year in the following year. And if you do three races, it kind of gets you like on the map and gets you some visibility because Mazda has a shootout at the end of the year. They have this yearly shootout where they pick select drivers just to run in their series. So they have a lower series that's kind of like that's SMX, and then they have the Cup, the Mazda MX-5 Cup. So we ran those three MX-5 Cup races last year to try to get noticed, for the shootout. Because if you win the shootout, it kind of gives you a full season with Mazda. And I mean, you're racing under the Mazda brand, and they give you, all these deliverables and, cash funds to race for them the next year. So, I mean, that's kind of what we threw, everything into. And I mean, yeah, sure enough, last year I got invited to the shootout and I was able to win it and walk away, with the Women's Initiative scholarship. So that's what allowed me to race full time this year.
So many different avenues I could go down. Let's start off with, but
I
we'll go
know
back to,
a lot happened in like a short amount of time. It was, crazy.
yeah, very motorsport. And I think the Delongs in particular, I want to touch on them first. There is that sense of motorsport community immediately there that you hear about, but don't always get to see at any level. You know, you hear about it, but in terms of witnessing it, you always seem to be just missing it. So to get that yourself as a racing driver, never mind as a spectator or something else, is like you said, sort of a once in a lifetime thing. And I think, but yeah, to give you the old cars, like you say, because seat time's so notoriously difficult to get in motorsport. It's not like tennis or football, like you say, where you can just go onto the pitch and have your way with it. You need to have so much time and energy and money to just get the basics for it. So for them to help out in that way, and then like you say, give you that opportunity where they go, "We're doing this. Do you want in?" You'd be mad to say no to that, and also sets up this what is so far pretty good story in terms of a motorsport journey so far. Of yeah, we're gonna not go the traditional routes where you have to be with a bigger team and try and find the money for it. That would be way more than you might be able to find, and you do it the underdog way, the harder way in some ways. And it sounds like you had the right combination of good luck and opportunities and strategic thinking to then play what now looks like a masterful hand of going, right, we've done enough to get to this shootout, and then you made that work for you pretty well. Did you feel going into that shootout as if you were under any pressure to win it, or were you just thinking, "I'll shoot my shot. What happens, happens, and we'll take it from there"? Because I'm guessing if you hadn't won that, this year would look quite different, eventually.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely needed to win the shootout to race this year, and there was a little bit of pressure on the first day. I was definitely not myself. I was not driving like myself. There were a few variables that kind of happened that were like out of my hand and out of my control. And when things like that happen, and I mean the shootout's only 2 days, it's very quick. Like you only get three sessions in the car, and so it is a very, very quick, you have to be on your A game, nothing can go wrong. And kind of that first day that I had at the shootout, I like a few things just didn't, really end up going my way. And I'm like, I could have done this better, but then this happened. So
It
it was,
compounds so
just
quickly. You trying to get your headspace sorted for the next thing.
exactly. So
It's
I
not
was
easy.
just like, oh my gosh, this is something I've been, looking forward to and trying to prepare for all year, and then I realized I was like, okay, I cannot put this much pressure on myself, like just to be a part of this group and to be selected for this is, such an incredible opportunity. So kind of, going into the second day of the shootout, I really, switched my mindset around, instead of kind of feeling that pressure and, being upset about the things that I wish went better. I'm like, okay, well, you can't change it now. It's in the past, right? So, you just need to focus on having fun, and driving like you know how to drive, because I'm like, when I drive, and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying myself and I'm having a good time, I'm always going to perform better, so it's just kind of like living in the moment and, having that gratitude and being thankful that you're there in the first place. That's what really kind of helped me, flip the switch the second day and really, put in a good performance to ultimately, help me win it. So,
Think sometimes when you take that pressure off yourself or you change your mindset in the way that you're describing, that you do, as you have proven, that you drive better. You have not this carefree nature, but this you go back to the fundamentals, like you were saying with karting earlier, if you're just there and you're enjoying yourself and you're not focused on anything else, you're just in that moment. So many examples of that throughout motorsport that you see and you notice with some drivers more than others. I was thinking about when you're talking there about Nico Hulkenberg last year in the Sauber in F1. He's not expecting necessarily to be doing too much in that car with what was capable of the year before, but you saw him deliver these results that arguably had no right delivering because of the car and even with his capabilities, and yet you saw him do that and you think, yeah, that's where the driver makes the difference. And proof was there in that moment for you. Would you say that that then was your favorite racing memory so far, or would there be something else that stands out to you?
oh, it was definitely one of them. It was definitely a really sweet moment just to like see all that hard work pay off and to, have that reassurance that like, oh, okay, I can race, next year. That was definitely a huge relief. But I also had
What
another
moment did
moment.
that sink in for you when you kind of it dawned on you that, oh, next year I can keep doing this? Was it
I mean,
immediate or did it
right,
take you
kind
a
of,
minute?
yeah, like right when they called my name, saying that I'd want it, with the check and everything they hand it to you.
Hmm.
And then you're just standing there, and the photos being taken, you're spraying champagne, and you're like, I get to race next year, yes, so yeah, it just kind of like all set in that day, and it was really, really cool. But then I also had another really cool moment. Aside from doing the Mazda stuff, I also got to drive with a Victory Racing, which is an all-female endurance racing team. They race in the World Racing League. They're founded by Aaron Vogel. And I had a wonderful opportunity to drive with them actually twice last year. And my first time I got to drive with them was at Daytona International Speedway. And it was for a
But that was a
14
bit of a pinch me moment.
Seriously, yeah, and it was for a 14-hour endurance race, and oh my goodness, that whole day was literally one of, if not the best day of my life. Because I mean, I'd watched so many races there. I've, toured that track. I've just dreamed of racing there. Like that, being at Daytona is like the epitome of like sports car racing. I mean, just with how infamous that track is. It was definitely a pinch me moment. And I got to finish the race for us, like under the lights of Daytona. And I'm like, this is so cool. It was just the coolest moment. And it's like engraved in my brain just doing that. It was the coolest thing ever.
Did you sleep at all that night, or did you have the best night's sleep of your life? Because I feel like it's only one of the two.
Yeah, no, I had a really good night's sleep. We got back, yeah, pretty late. So I went to bed just dreaming and wishing I could just do it over
Hmm.
and over and over again.
That must have been quite a surreal thing, like you say, getting to not only drive there, but then to be trusted to finish off the race for them and be in that environment. That yeah, I wouldn't know if I'd want to be aware of what I was doing in that moment, or if I'd want that to come afterwards, because you'd be afraid maybe that you'd realize, well, you're still having a job to do and make a mistake then. But yeah, no, that's something I'm sure will stay with you for quite a while. On the flip side of that, what would you say would be the most challenging thing that you've had to overcome so far?
Oh, definitely. Okay, so stepping into the MX-5 Cup, especially last year, it was so hard to like get up to that level because obviously you're not going to get up to that level overnight or in one race weekend because all the people in that series, they are so good. Like they have been doing that for a while. This is their bread and butter. They know the car inside and out. And I mean, these guys are just wicked fast. So learning how to step into that environment, and not just, speed wise, but racecraft and aggression wise, and having your elbows out and, constantly battling, with other cars, but also being smart about it. It's just like, it felt like I was drinking from, a fire hydrant, just like there was so much information coming at me. And, like my first race, in the MX-5 Cup, it rained. So we were on rain tires and I'm like, this is my first time driving a race car in the rain.
You got
But
thrown in the
then
deep end.
Exactly, but then it dried out, but we were all still on wet tires. So then it was like learning how to manage the tires, and that was so difficult. And then another race, I got food poisoning. It was
Can't plan
awful.
for that.
Yeah, like I got no practice, and I had to just jump straight into qualifying. And it was like, it was so tricky because, I spent all this time practicing, with Parker just to try to get ready for the MX-5 Cup. And then, when I come into the MX-5 Cup, it's like all these different things, getting thrown at you. Some things in your control, some things out of your control, and just really learning how to step up and compete at that level. I mean, it was super, super challenging and super hard, but I mean, I believe that, it's shaping me into the driver I am today. And, the hard moments, they do make you stronger, even though nobody, everybody says that and you don't, nobody likes to go through them, obviously, but you have to have moments like that, to make you better and, stronger.
I'm going to borrow that analogy of a fire hydrant at some point again because I don't think I've heard that one before, but I quite like it. It's a good one. Um, and yeah, no one wants to have to go through those moments, but it's just part of the process, isn't it? It's the game. The flip side of that, though, is that with the bad comes the character building, which then makes you good and gets you on the radar for people, which is obviously much well. Because on top of winning that shootout and getting the money that's helping with this year as well, we obviously also recently found out that you were one of the drivers receiving a grant from the Shift Up Now Foundation. How does that feel? Because that's a bit of extra on top of what you're already getting there. Does it feel like you not that you've made it, but does it feel like you've leveled up, maybe?
Definitely. I mean, it's so amazing. And just to be part of Shift Up Now, that just incredible community of just so many trailblazing women. Like you look
Mm.
at all the women that are part of Shift Up Now, and I mean, it's just incredible. Everyone from IndyCar to sports cars to now we have a rally car driver. Like it's just so insane to see like the levels of all the
It's
other
like the cast
girls.
for an Avengers film, it's this cute
No,
team of people. You go,
literally.
whoa, next one, next one, next one. Who
Yeah,
else is?
that's
Who else is in
that's
this?
literally it's like we're the Avengers but like race car driver version. And yeah, I love that. And to be a part of it, I mean, it's so cool. And just to have that community of women around you is
Mm.
so empowering. Like you never feel alone. You never feel kind of like separated because you always have these other incredible girls that you can go and you can talk to. And then to have the support from Shift Up Now and from the grant, it's great. And I mean, to have them on the car and the suit and the helmet, it's really, pushing it out
People will
there
see
even
that and
more.
they'll know and they'll go, okay, that's someone because they wouldn't be if they hadn't had this backing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And like you say, you've got such a range of experience with the drivers there, both on and off track, behind the scenes, in such a wide range of disciplines as well. You're never, I mean, like you say, you're not going to be alone, but you're also never going to run out of conversations because there's going to be something coming in. I was looking at the list of drivers there this year. And like you say, you've got everyone from karting to rallying to the Legends races to Masters. And you go, yeah, there's a bit of everything in there. And that then leads into this year, which you teased a little bit about earlier. But what are your plans for this year then?
Yeah, so my plans are running a full season in the Wheel and Mazda MX-5 Cup. And then also, I am kind of a reserve driver for A Victory Racing, the team with the Toyota Supra. So we've done a few events so far, just like going out. We got to actually go to the Toyota headquarters like last week, which was really cool to check that out and to see
First time
everything.
there, I take it.
Yeah, no, it was my first time there, so yeah, it was really neat. It was a really cool thing right before the Arlington Grand Prix, actually. So
Well,
then I stayed and watched that. So that was
not
a
a
cool
bad weekend.
weekend. Yeah, but so I'm hoping, if they need me, obviously that classic reserve driver role, I'm,
Hmm.
gonna be there if I can. But yeah, the main focus for this year is definitely Mazda, and practicing racing, trying to perform the best I can in that series because it's really handy like when you're racing under the IMSA umbrella, when you're racing on the same weekend as the WeatherTech guys and the VP guys, like it's very good for visibility. So, I mean, if you can perform in the MX-5 Cup, you can perform just about anywhere, and people know that. So, it's really motivating and it really pushes me to want to perform my best this year, just to get, myself on the map.
It's an incredibly competitive series, like you say. It's somewhere where even if your result maybe doesn't look perfect on paper, people who are in the know will go, okay, that's not maybe as bad as it would seem in other series because you just know how close and how fierce the competition is there from each and every round, never mind across the whole season. So that again, for the visibility, you're with people who will understand more than outsiders might who just come in or spectators that are checking it out for the first time. So I think that's going to be key as well this year. How does it feel knowing that you'll get to do a full season this year? Because obviously it's a step up again from the bits that you did last year, but also a bigger challenge.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a huge challenge. That's the best word to describe it, but it's such a cool opportunity. Like I think kind of try to go back to that gratitude mindset anytime I
Hmm.
may start to feel overwhelmed. I'm like, at the end of the day, I get to drive, this incredibly cool race car, for a full season, and it's such a cool opportunity that like so many people would, kill to be in my position. So I think just taking every day and every time I'm in the car, never taking it for granted and just going out there, and having fun and, performing, and just doing what I can because there's always so many things that you can't control in racing too. So I think just, keeping that in mind, it's really exciting though. It's really, really exciting. And to have the support from Mazda, it's like I get to say that, I'm a Mazda Motorsports driver, for the year. So, I mean, that is a really really cool thing. And it's
Hope you
definitely
don't get
something.
used to saying that and it feels unique every time you do it.
Yeah, yeah, no. And it's really neat. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the year for sure.
Is there a track in particular you're most looking forward to racing at?
Oh, a lot of them I actually haven't been to this year on the schedule. We're going back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the
Hmm.
series hasn't raced there in a while. So I'm excited. I'm
You
really
chose a good
excited to
year
go
for
back.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really excited to see what that track is like. I mean, I've never even been to that. I've never been to the Indy 500. So, I mean, to go on the road course there, I think that's
Hmm.
going to be a really, really cool track.
No, definitely that one's going to be up the top, I'd say, after that one. Not, no offense to all the other tracks, but you're setting sights quite high
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Beyond this year, if we go for your kind of dream ambitions for the long term future, what does that look like for you? What's the aim?
Endurance racing for sure. I love endurance racing. I want to be at the highest levels of IMSA or the World Endurance Championship. I am obsessed with the prototype cars. Like ever since I came into racing and getting to do a few endurance events last year, like that's when it really clicked in my mind and I'm like, this is where I want to be. I love every aspect of it. So, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna try my hardest to, be in IMSA or WEC because I'm like, hey, there's really no, females in a prototype car right now too. So that is definitely the goal, and that's where I want to be.
I like to do some follow up interviews from time to time, so I'm going to try and do this strategically and go right. Wait for the announcement to come when she gets into that position, and then we'll circle back and go, "Hey, looking pretty good
There
right now."
you go. There you go.
A couple of fun non-motorsport questions to finish off. Then, if we put motorsport to one side, what would your perfect Sunday look like?
Oh, well, it's not a perfect Sunday if there's no racing on.
I know, but that's why I asked the question.
Or if I'm not racing. But if I had to do something else, I mean, I love going outside and like being active and hiking and biking and everything. So honestly, I would probably be back in Colorado on a mountain snowboarding. Like if I could do that, because I grew up snowboarding as well. There's another
Makes
sport I
sense.
did. So that would be a really perfect Sunday for me. If racing wasn't involved, it would be just like snowboarding all day on the mountain because I love that. So
Not a bad picture to paint there.
yeah.
And then finally, if you could travel back in time, but only to the same period every time, when and where would you choose?
Whoa. Oh gosh.
These are always
Honestly,
tougher than the motorsport
I
questions. I always
know
get
that's
people
I've
with
never
these.
gotten that question before. Wait, that's a cool
I'd be a
question.
little bit surprised if you had, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, honestly, maybe I'd just go back like this isn't gonna sound that crazy, but I might just go back 10 years ago when I was just a kid, like playing outside with my brother. I mean, when things were just so simple And like you didn't have to think, obviously I love my life now and I love, that all the stuff that's going
Yeah,
on. But I mean, sometimes you think about that and you're just like, wow, I really didn't know a thing about the world and I just went outside and like played in the dirt. Like how
it
awesome is
was a
that?
lot
And it's
simpler.
just such a carefree life. Like that would be cool to go back to that time because I'm telling you, we did not realize how good we had it until, you're not playing in the dirt, when you're 5 years old with your brother anymore. So
I feel that. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I want to wish you the best of luck for 2026 and beyond. And we will see you in a prototype in. We'll give you 5, 10 years. We'll give you
yeah,
a bit of time
yeah,
for it just in case. We'll build
yeah,
up to it.
that's a good time frame. I don't want to rush myself into it. I want to
No,
have a
exactly.
good development pathway. But yeah, I will definitely be back on when I'm in a prototype racing at Le Mans.
It's a deal.
Perfect.
Thank you again to Charlotte for taking the time to chat. If you want more from Charlotte, details as to where you can find her will be in the show notes for this episode. I'll be back soon with another interview with someone else from the world of motorsport, but in the meantime, thank you for watching and listening, and I'll catch you next time for more On the Kerbs.